How long should your intro pass be in your yoga or your wellness business? In this video, I'm going to tell you why that is the wrong question to be asking. I'm also going to highlight the number one mistake that every yoga studio owner and wellness studio owner is probably making on their intro pass before they work with a coach. And we'll talk about some of the intro pass options that are out there, but more importantly, why you need to consider one or the other in today's current market, because it is not the same as it used to be. That's what we're chatting about in this episode of Ask NBC. I'm Josh from Nomad Business Coaching. You send me your questions. We talk about them to try to get your yoga or wellness business amped up. And very importantly, that you're getting the compensation that you deserve for your efforts. So, how long should my intro pass be? First thing, this is the wrong question for a few reasons, but the primary one is that usually when a studio owner is asking the question, how long should my intro pass be, they're asking because they want to enhance the output of their business, probably in the finance department. So they want to have an intro pass that does more for them. And it highlights the fact that we're looking for the easy solution. We're looking for the magic bullet or the special pill or whatever it is you want to call it, that if you just did this thing, it'll make your business succeed. Nothing could be further from the truth. So when we're talking about a singular thing like the length of your yoga pass, it highlights how you need to ask a different question. The question that you should be asking around your intro pass is not how long it should be. It is, what is the ultimate purpose of your intro pass? What are you trying to accomplish with it? It becomes part of your larger plan and strategy within your business. There are three primary reasons that you would try to get somebody onto your intro pass. The first is, of course, it's a low barrier of entry so that people can come and try you out. That is true. It also, though, more importantly, buys you as the studio time to create rapport and to educate them into your system, to make them part of your culture, and it demonstrates to them, hopefully, if they come in and practice, some level of transformation. So you want them to see some potential of change. And finally, it serves as the gateway to get them from I'm new to I'm going to be a member. In other words, we're talking about conversion. Now, if you watch my video, and you can see the link for it down below, predictions for 2018, the major point is that whoever can figure out conversions and internal marketing, those are the businesses that are going to win in our current market. And the reason why this conversion rate matters is that when we see the increase of conversions from intro pass to anything else in studio go up by 5% only, the revenue at the end of the year usually increases 50% or more. It's massive. So the first thing about the intro pass in terms of the ultimate goal being this conversion is that you'll never convert somebody if they don't go on your intro pass in the first place. If we're talking about drop-in versus intro pass, you will very seldom take somebody from drop-in and move them all the way to a recurring membership model. So you need to sell your intro pass. Make it a no-brainer offer so that when people come into your studio, they don't do drop-ins. They do your intro pass. If you miss that sale, nothing else matters. But when we're considering the time of an intro pass, there are a few other questions you want to ask yourself. For example, how many points of contact do you need to have with them? How many classes do you want to promote them to take? What's the specific message within your product that they need to understand? And how long is that going to take you to indoctrinate into them? And how intense can you be with these people without deterring them? And of course, how much time can you manually devote to these people? In some businesses, unless you have a large staff, if you're experiencing 100 plus new students per month, too many manual steps to try to manage them will take up all of your available extra time. So you don't really want to do that either. But they highlight, as I said at the start of the video, one of the biggest mistakes that we see everywhere in the wellness industry, especially in the yoga industry in today's current market. And that is that during the intro pass, studio owners rampantly under contact people who are on their intro. For whatever reason, we're super scared about over contacting them and them getting annoyed and clicking spam or unsubscribing or not coming back in or giving us a frowny face emoji or whatever. It's just not true. Only even a few years ago, on the other hand, this was a serious consideration. But it's not the way the consumer exists in regular culture now. Food for thought, when they open your email, you better make sure the content in there is super valuable so that they know when you send them stuff, you're not messing around. It's really worth their while. Don't waste people's time. From the consumer standpoint, what is it that they're actually looking for during their intro? The number one thing, and this is what everybody buys anytime they're buying anything whatsoever, even if they don't think so, is transformation. The only thing people buy is transformation. They're here, they want to get here, you're in the middle. And if you can convince them you're going to be the vehicle for their transformation from point A to point B, then you've probably got them. The second thing, and this is something that people know but maybe can't voice, is community. Community is massive. Of course, we understand as yoga studio owners that community is important, and every yoga studio owner on the entire planet says we have a great community, our community is so good, it's a welcoming community, everyone loves our community. Everybody says that. As human beings, we all want to be part of something. Even the most introverted of us still want to be part of some sort of a group. So during your intro time, you're getting an opportunity to invite somebody into your community and to indoctrinate to some extent your community into them so that they feel connected. If you thoroughly get somebody into your community, why would they leave and go somewhere else instead of staying with you? Because when they go somewhere else, they have to reintroduce themselves to a community and learn how to be in that community. So it's easier for them to stay with you. Third one, and this one is not usually talked about too much, is status. Now, wellness business owners hardly ever discuss this. The subconscious mind of all of us is trying to reconcile this question. Will making this purchase or doing this thing increase or decrease my status? So it's a little bit from the ego, and people are always looking to increase their status. So when people start something like a new yoga practice, they're looking to be doing something that is status raising. You need to tell them why it raises their status to participate with your specific business and in your unique specific studio. When we look at intro time frame, there's one other factor that's very important to consider, especially in today's market, and that is what I call the romance period. There's a limited amount of time that you can ask somebody to be really excited about your business or your product. In terms of your intro pass, if it becomes no longer novel, they leave the romance period, the likelihood of you converting them goes down. Across the industry and with my private group, we're finding that the 10 to 15 day mark seems to be the maximum length for a romance period. Food for thought. If you're sending an email with 2 days left on an intro pass saying, hey, you should buy something, and your intro pass is a month long, it's already way too late. You lost those people 2 weeks ago. So here's a quick pros and cons of the different intros that exist. First off, there's the very short intro. The old school one was do one class, get the second class free, then buy something. The new version of it is a 1 week intro pass, and it's often a free week. The truth is, these do often perform better in terms of their actual conversion percentage. More people convert. The problem is the time is so short, they don't get to be totally ingrained into your system yet. So the conversion choice that they make is often lower quality. They start asking for things like a 5-class pass instead of your recurring monthly membership. The problem there is that it can be actually really hard to sell. The other end of the spectrum is the long intro. $60 for 60 days is a really good example of this. Selling a $60 for 60 days intro is a piece of cake. You'll sell it on the street. We literally used to sell it at the local farmers market. It works in terms of getting people onto that membership. So during lower times where you're having trouble selling onto an intro, it might be a good option for you. The problem with it is there's almost a guarantee that during a 60-day increment, the vast majority of people are going to leave the romance period and your conversion on them will be low. This brings us sort of to the in-between, the 1 month intro. Now this is definitely the industry standard. Selling the 1 month intro is relatively easy. It's a no-brainer from the price point. Secondly, who can't come at least a couple of times feasibly within a month of time? So it's hard for them to say no on that. I won't take advantage of it. And it's not so long that they've completely been lost. One of the details with the 1 month intro as well is that it buys you the time as the owner of the studio to get enough contact with this person to really create some deep rapport with them. I highly recommend, if you're running a 1 month intro, to try to get a minimum of 10 points of contact with them during their intro month. Because it's the industry standard, people have perpetually been lowering the price of what the 1 month is worth. In a lot of areas, 30 days is $30. And although that's very easy to sell, it gives you unqualified people coming in and purchasing it who are just looking for the deal. So you're probably thinking right now, Josh, none of this is definitive. What the heck do I do? And also, I want to know how to make my intro pass time frame utilized to its fullest potential. Yes, you should do that. I call them pipelines. People call them funnels, sales flows, whatever it is. You need to plan yours out, and there are some tips and tricks that are hyper-specific to what works in today's industry that you need to do. So if you haven't scheduled a call with me, make sure you do so. But there are a couple of intro passes we haven't talked about yet, and these are the sort of outside-the-box passes, as I would call them right now, that I think deserve some very serious consideration. The first one is, as we've said, 10 to 15 days is the average drop-off. So having a 2-week intro or a 10 to 15 day intro could be a really good sweet spot in the current market right now. It also stands out from what everyone else is doing, usually, so that alone might make them not compare it to other studios, and they're just looking at it for what it is. The slightly shorter time frame condenses the action of the people. It gives them enough time to get a few classes in and experience transformation, but it forces them to actually come in intensely, come in with higher frequency out of the gate. Because we all know that it's better for someone to practice 4 times in 1 week than it is 4 times in 1 month in terms of how they're going to see the change in their body happen faster. The other thing about this is that the conversion off of it tends to be pretty strong because people know by that point whether they like it or not, but they haven't had the chance to completely check the box and say, I've tried it, it's over, I'm going to move on to the next thing. Because especially if you're doing things correctly, your contact points about their next purchase will start earlier, usually around the halfway mark at least, during the intro. So that means after only the first week, you've already started the conversation. Now, one of the drawbacks that you might be thinking about with a 2-week intro is that it doesn't give sufficient time for a student to get into that 13 numbered of classes where their conversion rate goes up. And although that's true, the other thing that you have to consider is that you're getting them to make a buying decision earlier on the theoretical plan that they would get to the 13 classes. So as we said, what we see is people practice more at the beginning of their intro and then they drop off. If you ask them to make a purchase when they've done 4 classes in 2 weeks, it's easy for you to say, look, you've done 4 or 5 classes. That means you're on track for 8 to 10 to 13 per month, which means my autopay membership is the best option for you, even though they may not have ever made it to that number of classes within the month. The other detail here is that if you operate something like a hot yoga studio, you know that class 3 and 4 are a much better indication of how you're going to feel in the yoga room than class 1 and 2. So you do still have enough time to hopefully get them to those classes where they see that transformation, where they see that they are able to improve and something exciting has happened. That's when they're the most poised to make the next decision on a purchase. Now, there are some specific drawbacks that you do want to consider. The first thing is, I think that 2 weeks is enough time to create rapport with someone, but the shortened time frame really forces you to work quickly. You have to be way more intense on your conversion with these people. So on your side as the owner and as the business, you just have to be prepared and willing to do that. You can't wait around. You can't be worried about over-contacting them. You need to get on it right away, right after the first class, and start these contact points. One of the old drawbacks that we used to discuss with the 2-week intro is that although it usually converted better, the conversion quality was lower. The problem with this that no one's discussing is that old conversion rates were based off of when we had pricing funnels that were totally out of whack. So you can solve this really easily by having super intelligent pricing, and having your pricing strategy set up properly will make you have higher conversions as well. And the final drawback with this ties into the whole sales process, is actually your team. 2 weeks is not that long of time. So if one of your team members or a couple of your team members are lazy at the front end, especially at your front desk, and they just decide not to make really good contact with the student, that might be 50% of the time that you actually saw the student, and you miss the opportunity to create rapport, to talk with them, to have a sales conversation with them in the first place. So when you have the shortened time frame, you need to back it up by training your staff and have them very strongly equipped to identify who needs to be spoken to, and that they have a good strategy for how to speak to those people as well. Now, this is a slight tangent, but because we're on the subject, I have to add it in here. When we're looking for the magic bullet or the special pill or whatever it is you could do in your business is going to have the most effect and change in the positive way, there's hands down one thing, and I'll make a whole video on this soon, that is your front end staff. There is no email you can send, no program you can use, nothing you can do, not a single Instagram post, not a great Facebook ad, not understanding the special conversion ROI, pixel tracking, Google tags, blah, 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 blah. Nothing that will be more potent than your face-to-face contact with the people who are actually in your business. So if your team can't do this really well, you will always underperform. If your team can do these things really well, everything else will just help to amplify that situation. And the final intro pass option that I have to highlight is what I like to call the super intro. This one is a little bit weird and there's not many people that run it. What I would say is that everyone that we know who does run it, and anyone I've worked with where we put a strategy in place around it, it's either an absolute hit, super bomb awesome, or a complete utter failure. It's one or the other. So you're taking some risk right out of the gate. The super intro is when you have a really extended period of time. Usually we would go 90 days of time. And you price it in a very specific way. So the $100 mark is the sweet spot for this. So you do $99 for 90 days of time, or $100 for 3 months. The advantages to this one are that right away you raise the bar for the minimum income level that one student brings value to the studio. The other detail about this is because your intro is at 100, it's more sensical for your drop-in to be at a higher price as well. The bigger detail, though, that I find fascinating about the potential of this pass is retention itself. At the end of 3 months, you've given enough time for people to actually create a full-on habit in their life. So if you can get someone from day through 3 months, by the end, they have integrated you and your studio into their regular life. They know what it means to drive there after work, to find a parking spot, to have their mat, where their spot is, be hydrated, eat this, don't eat that, whatever else. So by the time you get to the end of the 3 months, the sales conversation is incredibly easy because you just say, hey, you've been doing awesome, let's keep you going. And they roll on to the membership. The problem with this, though, is that the people who don't make it to the end of 3 months, you've just proven to them, hey, you've got 3 months to come and try this out on this great deal. They don't take any advantage of it. They feel like I didn't get my money's worth because I didn't come in for 2 of the 3 months, and they're lost. And it's not that you can't win them back, but to win them back is actually quite difficult. Now, if this intro pass seems a little bit stressful for you, what I would say is sometimes it runs in place of your regular intro for when you're doing a re-intro campaign. So you reach out into your system, find all the people who haven't done your intro in over a year and do not currently have a pass and are not currently coming into the studio, and you send them a unique special offer, 3 months for $99. By now, you probably have one question that is very common as well, and that is, should I just run 2 intros? What if we have more than one option? And the answer on this is hard no. Do not ever run 2 intros. Now, what this does highlight, though, is the fact that your intro pass is just what it sounds like. It's your intro. It's your special. It doesn't have to say stay static. You can actually change the intro throughout the year without it having too much negative repercussion on your business. It is probably the only pass that you can do this with. So if you're not sure which intro is going to be best for you, plan out what you want to do during the intro first and what your ultimate goal with the intro is, and work backwards. Then you'll figure out how long do you need to create this, and then you test it. And if after a while you don't like the results, change the time frame and condense things or expand things, or change what you're saying in there. Or if during certain times of the year you know you want to get people to convert faster, maybe in January, then you do that. If you're coming right now into the summertime and you know that you have a more difficult time selling your intro in the first place, make it a better deal by making it a month long or going to the 3-month intro option. But the most important detail of this entire conversation, and I know it's been a long one, so thank you for sticking with me, is that the length of your intro pass is basically irrelevant. The length of your intro pass itself isn't what is going to make or break your business. And this is a highlight of how modern yoga business best practices work. It is not one single thing that you do that will make you pass or fail, make you win or lose. It is the accumulation of smaller things over time that you constantly apply in a strategic, systemic way that are going to make you win. I wrote a blog post about this which breaks it down a little more slowly. It also has a couple of other details that are not included in this video. So click the link and head over to the blog post so you can check it out. If you liked this video, please comment down below, hit the share button, hit the like button. Once again, I'm Josh from Nomad Business Coaching. Thank you for your service. We'll see you again next time.